This episode is brought to you in part by Inter-Year Fellowship. Inter-Year Fellowship provides opportunities for young adults to engage their faith through service and community while exploring their vocation. You can find out more at interyear.org. That's INTERYEAR.org.
And so I think what I want to be when I grow up is just somebody who loves others well and welcomes them into my life well.
Welcome to the Career Brand Story Podcast, where we talk about your career, your brand, and your story. I'm Jeremy Tudor, career strategist, brand marketer, and storyteller that created the Career Brand Story method that has helped thousands of job seekers craft their career brand story for today's job market and land their dream job. Hey, Jeb, our studio looks different today.
It sure does. Thank you so much to Market Street Media Studios in Johnson City for accommodating us as we have a larger group today. And we don't have enough microphones in our own studio.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And it's so nice. Even the chairs don't squeak. Our chairs squeak. So, the fact that I can twirl and there's no squeak is pretty amazing. This
all
is such
squeaky chairs will be from me today then.
Yeah. So, we're really excited about this episode. We're also breaking some records because we're having the most guests we have ever had on one episode, which is why we needed Market Street Media's help over here. And Leighton Hart was gracious to get us in kind of last minute, actually, because, I'm a procrastinator. And so really appreciate their hospitality and bringing us over here. I'm excited about this episode because it is with an organization that is near and dear to my heart. So close, in fact, that I actually live at this organization on the top third floor and with Inter-Year Fellowship. As graduation approaches, and I can't believe that we're even talking about that the class of 2021 is graduating, it feels like that, I don't know for anyone else, but I feel like I'm still stuck in a loop of 2020. And 2021 is just the continuation of it. It hasn't fully happened. But just being the longest year of our lives. And but students that are graduating are going to have a tough time being able to find a job with the current job economy being really tough. And then if you're not interested in immediately going to grad school, some have considered taking a gap year when school ends. And people are finding that a gap year affords them the time to spread their wings, really find out what they really want to do with their future. And in a slow economy, taking a gap year after college can really be worthwhile and an economical experience. There was a survey done by highered.com that finds that 40% of incoming freshmen at four-year colleges are likely or highly likely not to attend. The data was even worse for minority students. And they use the word worse here like it's a real negative connotation. And I guess because it's higher ed, they're probably pretty supportive of that. But I personally think there's a huge cultural shift that is actually happening where the education system as a whole, I think we found out this last year, really was not prepared for last year. And I think it's going to have ramifications in the job market, and that companies are really going to have to think differently about how they bring the Gen Z talent into their companies. But today, we're going to talk to fellows at Inter-Year Fellowship who've had a firsthand experience with taking a gap year after college and find out, was it worth it? Inter-Year Fellowship is a year-long opportunity for young adults who are committed to living in intentional Christian community with like-minded individuals focused on discerning their vocation. Each fellow serves in a nonprofit or ministry that is committed to social change, gaining valuable hands-on experience. They embrace classical spiritual disciplines to help them prepare for a life that is filled with purpose, defined by action and service in the kingdom of God. Tim Bomgardner is the founder and executive director of Inter-Year Fellowships. He's one of my best friends as well. He has been on a long journey of discernment that started in Texas, wound his way through Oklahoma, Tennessee, and New York. It sounds like a country song.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit
It feels
there.
that way sometimes.
In New York, he served as a director at World Vision in the South Bronx before returning to East Tennessee to work at the Appalachia Service Project. And then through his path, Tim has valued service to others, a commitment to spiritual disciplines, and a desire to journey with others along the way. And I was thinking about this last night. I was actually in North Carolina in a Harris Teeter parking lot about to go in the grocery store when you called me.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start this nonprofit. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool, man. That's real cool.
Good for you.
That was the first time that I heard about Enter Your Fellowship, and it started from there. And it's been an exciting journey, not only to be able to see it actually happen and be in action, but to have the unique perspective of actually living there has been a really I can actually say it's a bird eye view from where
up
we
there
live,
at the top, yeah.
at the very top of where we live. So Tim, it's really great to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So let's just start off. Why commit to offering a year-long GAP program to young adults?
Well, I think young adults finishing up college, it is such a critical time in life, and you're trying to figure out, what do I do with all this education that I've just invested all this time and money into, and what path am I headed on, and what is it that I really want to do with that? And so sometimes when you're so busy in the academic cycles, it's hard to kind of take a step back and figure that out. And so I think it's important for young adults, especially at that age, to think about, well, what is your why, and figure that out before you move into that next step and figure out what's next.
Yeah, and I think statistically speaking, it's as high as 72% of people go out into their jobs and their careers, and they actually don't end up even doing what their degree was in.
Yes, I know I'm not.
Yeah, and I'm not either.
Right.
And so I think it's a great thought and idea to let people kind of step back and really think about that. There's lots of gap year programs that have kind of popped up. It's become a more popular trend for people to take, either from high school before they enter college,
Right.
or college after, whether it's grad school or go into something. What makes Enter Year different from other gap programs, from the others that are around the country?
Yeah, well, most people don't know that gap year programs have been around for over a century. And so young adults have been doing this for a really long time. And just over 50 years ago, when, LBJ had this war on poverty and AmeriCorps got started, that popularized it and kind of gave it some government funding behind that. And but organizations have been doing this for a really long time. Quakers have been at it for probably longer than anybody else. Mennonites have been doing it for a long time. But what I think makes ours different and unique is it's sort of an ecumenical group, so it's not a particular denomination, and we, just like all the others, give people an opportunity to work for an organization and get a chance to see what it's like to have a full-time job. But here we focus on the intentional community part of living together, but also on it's a faith-based organization, so we spend a lot of time on spiritual formation and doing that from a place of kind of contemplative groundedness. Deal with our own brokenness a little bit that puts us in a better perspective to deal with the brokenness that exists in the world.
So can you just give us, and it's a year-long program, so this next question is kind of a doozy to do it in like 30 to 60 seconds of it, but can you give us a high overview of how it works?
Yeah, so our year is like 11 months long, actually. So it'll start at the end of August and finish up towards the end of July. So almost kind of on a school schedule, but including that next summer. But we kind of talk about it with 4 different strands. So we have our intentional Christian community where folks live together, and we have morning and evening prayer together, and they share meals and have to figure out how to share a grocery budget, learn to manage conflict, but also help support and encourage each other. So that's the intentional community part. There's the service aspect. So they do have a job where they serve with an organization, a nonprofit or a ministry here in town, and get a chance to see what it's like to serve there. But then we also focus on the spiritual formation side. So on those kind of contemplative spiritual practices, and hopefully, embed them in enough that they become habit. And so when fellows leave and move on, that's still a part of who they are and how they live their lives. And the last part kind of brings it all together is that vocational discernment piece. So like, what's the point of all of this? How can I take what I've learned in college take what I've learned here, being with each other, and thinking about my own spiritual formation, but what needs exist in the world, and how can I bring my gifts and talents to bear to serve the world in some meaningful way.
Yeah. And so in the service part, you actually have community partners that partner with you, and the fellows come in and they have work assignments to those partners.
Yeah.
So how does that work? How does that look?
Yeah, so that's actually like the backbone of kind of provides the backbone of our funding, really. And so we work with organizations we call our partners. And so they're here in town, local organizations doing work here. And so they essentially pay us a monthly fee, and then we provide them with a fellow for the year. And so for that organization, it's basically an internship. It looks like, how do I bring an intern in, give them the experience of what it's like to work here, manage them through the process, give them job responsibilities, so they're not just doing random stuff. It is they have a job that they've been essentially hired to do. And so it gives the fellows that chance to see what is it like to have a regular job. And so I'm there to kind of help navigate if there's any issues between the fellow or the organization or vice versa, to make sure it's a good fit for everybody along the way. And so we hope that it actually turns into potential job offers for the fellows, and gives the organizations and the fellows a chance to kind of try each other out for a trial run for a year.
Yeah, it's a great recruitment strategy for organizations.
Yeah, it can be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there any particular organizations that you think are a better fit for you in the community versus someone who shouldn't consider it? Or
well, I mean, as a faith-based organization, we have a desire to, we do the things that we do because we're motivated by our faith. And so organizations don't have to be faith-based organizations to partner with us. So we partner with just about anyone who's willing to make the space and to work with us on that and to try it out. It's a risk for them. It's a risk for us to make sure it's a good fit. But we have churches, we have home repair ministries. There's a nonprofit cafe. There's a school for kids on the autism spectrum. There's a lot of different organizations, and you'll get a chance to hear from some of our fellows who are working there. And so we've worked with some of them multiple years, and so we've developed that relationship with them. And some of them I've had a relationship with for years, and some have been new to me as we've brought in fellows who have a particular skill set or interest. And so then I can kind of look at our community and see, how can we make this work for both people, the fellow and for the organization.
Yeah. So you're actively recruiting for the 21-22
yes.
year.
That's real hard to think about.
How many fellows can you actually take in the program? Like this group has been our largest group that's lived there. So
so this is just our third program year. So we're still kind of in the beginning. You and I started about the same time. Like I quit my job when you kind of launched Career Brand Story, and so we're in some ways still at the very beginning of this. And so we have 5 fellows this year. I think we could take 8 in our current kind of situation. That might be a tight fit, but I think we could fit 8. My goal is just to recruit young adults who are willing to give this a try and invest in it for the year. And I'll do our best to find organizations that fit their kind of career path or trajectory or their interests and talents.
Now, as the fellows come in, they also have to raise a little bit of support.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How much?
Our fellows raise $3,000 a year to participate.
Doable.
And we essentially kind of dole that out throughout the year. They get a monthly stipend to kind of help offset the cost of living. We provide all the housing, and that one of the things that they have to learn how to live with is a shared grocery budget. And so they have to plan some meals and who's going to eat what and how they're going to provide for that. So we throw in money for each person into a shared grocery budget as well. And so a lot of organizations out there, some, they'll charge $16,000 for a fellow to participate or a young adult to be in a program. Some of them, it's totally free. They don't have to raise any money or support to do that. And so we tried to find something on the lower end of the spectrum to make it available to folks who might not have that opportunity otherwise.
Great. And where can people go if they're interested in doing a fellowship for the next year?
So our website, enteryear.org. That's INTER year.org. And there they can learn, there's a page for our fellows, so they can kind of learn more about who our fellows are this year. There's a page for our partners, so they can see who that is and who we're working with. And then, of course, there's the application page where they can actually go ahead and apply online and get involved in that process.
All right. Well, thanks, Tim. We're looking forward to talking more with the fellows here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so we want to bring in three of the fellows here and just talk a little bit about what it's like to live in the house. And glad to have Ashlyn, Cora, and Jordan here. Jordan grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I actually grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. So Fort Wayne.
Yeah, about 2 hours away, huh?
Yeah. So I'm sorry you grew up in Fort Wayne. Before moving with their family, and I could not pronounce this. I'm really bad with names and words. And so I will try my best because on this podcast, my team likes to make fun of me when I can't pronounce them. But you moved to Cochabamba. I have no idea how to say that. Bolivia?
Cochabamba.
All right. And you did that in high school. What year of high school were you in?
We moved the first time my freshman year of high school, back to the States for 2 years, and then back again my senior year of high school.
Wow. All right. Yeah. Well, she graduated from Milligan University with a BA in communications, a concentration in multimedia journalism, and a minor in Spanish. So you also participated in storytelling and creative media with Mountain Christian Church outside of Baltimore. And that also took you to, here is again, Myanmar.
Yeah, Myanmar.
Is I saying that right? On a videography project and summer marketing position with local architect design youth program in Fort Wayne. And you like traveling and doing freelance multimedia projects. Yeah, so welcome. Glad to have you here. And then Ashlyn grew up right here in Kingsport, Tennessee, and graduated with a BS degree in psychology, a minor in photography and humanities from Milligan University. You participated in dance teams. You've served as a resident assistant for 2 years at Milligan and involved with campus ministry and Vespers. You love to hike and have a huge heart with children with special needs. That's really cool. I actually was a director of recruitment for the Special Olympics World Games.
Oh my gosh,
that
that's so
happened
cool.
in LA in 2015. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a really cool opportunity. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then we have Cora Weimer, who is also local right here, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Yep.
And graduated from Milligan University with a BS in graphic design with a minor in photography and humanities. She has served in a summer time in Estonia with Josiah Venture, mentoring students and supporting local churches. She's worked with the local Appalachian Christian camp as a full-time camp counselor. Also worked at Mountain Christian Church outside of Baltimore, Maryland. I actually had a brush with Mountain Christian Church group back in the day before I planted a church. There was a group from Mountain Christian Church. We went through Stadia assessment together. So it's kind of interesting. And you have served on the ministry team support and communication arts and volunteer with college age ministry. So it's glad to have you here too.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. So let's talk about the juicy details of living at Enter Your Fellowship. So in full disclosure to my audience, my family lives on the third floor. My wife and I were talking about this last night. My first question was going to be, what do you think of that family living on the third floor? I put you on the spot. She's always concerned that you can hear everything that we do. I don't actually think that's true, but you can correct me later if that's true.
A little bit.
I don't know if we hear the dog.
The dog, You may have heard a horn the other day. I blew that really loud. But she gets really upset if I get super loud or if I'm yelling or talking loud. She's like, quiet, they're trying to sleep.
I never hear talking.
Yeah.
But
There's a sound like a bowling ball. Can you clear that up? There's been much question of what that could be.
A bowling ball?
Yeah, just like
I'm
something
guessing it's
rolling
the
across
bowling.
like... Is it the bowling alley that you have?
Yeah, I mean, we do have those.
I think it's the
a long
bowling that
shot,
they're
but we're getting really good at bowling. Yeah, I have no idea what that sound is. So I'll keep a laugh.
The mystery continues.
Yeah, I'll listen for that. It's hard to say. Yeah. Well, so my first question, before we actually get in the house, why is a gap year? Why was that even a thought for you guys?
for me, I just didn't know if I wanted to go into the secular world or the nonprofit world or the church world when it came to graphic design and media. We had visited so many creative media agencies here when I went to Milligan, and I just never really got the vibe that was a place that I wanted to be, selling things to people that I don't really think they need. And so I was just I wanted a place to be able to kind of test out the church world or the nonprofit world when it came to media. And so I'm at Grandview Christian Church where I grew up. And so that's been really good for me to try to figure out just which direction I want to go.
Okay.
I graduated with a psychology degree, so you can't really do anything with psychology degree except go to grad school. And I hadn't fully decided like what I wanted to do in grad school. And so I had been set probably all 3 years of college on doing occupational therapy. And then my senior year just kind of was like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. And I definitely don't want to go to school for 3 years and pay all that money if that's not what I want to do. And so I decided to take a gap year because of that. And this year has really helped just kind of clarify like different experiences that I've had and opened me up to, I work in a school for kids with autism. So it's given me great experiences and just different aspects of working with children with special needs rather than like just occupational therapy or in the medical field.
And that's Jeremiah School?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
For me, I had just really come to a place in a lot of different aspects of my life, in my work, in my faith, living situation, where things were just kind of at a standstill, and of course the pandemic was starting around then as well. So trying to find a job became very, very hard, and so this provided an opportunity to step back and be very intentional about next steps. Do that alongside a group of people who were kind of in the same boat. And like Cora was saying, decide how I wanted to incorporate all those things together moving forward in life and in work.
Great. And where are you working?
I'm with Appalachia Service Project,
okay.
doing like communications and marketing and storytelling stuff.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what's it like to live at the house?
We do morning and evening prayer, cook a lot of our meals together. Fridays we have our day of discernment thing, and so it's just a lot of life together. Yeah,
a lot of community. We'll have like movie nights if people are home, and just all like put on a movie, and people come and go and sit on the couch and watch different parts. But
grocery
just
shopping, all the things
together.
Now, do you guys go grocery shopping all together, or how's that work?
I think we did that the first time, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
And so we kind of say, all right, I'm taking the card. What do people need? So we keep a running list. Yeah.
We all also have full-time jobs and like schedules that differ. So trying to do that together is not always.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because you did this during a pandemic year. And I actually remember at the end of last year, there was a day I went through with a mop from our top floor, and I went all the way down through the whole house. Wow. And
it's a lot of floors.
It's a lot of work when you do that. But it's like if you're gonna mop, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And but it was the people that were living there at the time. We had one fellow there, and then different people who lived in the bottom apartment. But they were in the living room watching TV, and it was right before all that happened. And I was like, yeah, I'm mopping the COVID out. No idea what was about to come.
It was so funny.
Yeah, like, we're really going to be locked down together.
Yes.
Do you think was that a positive thing for you? Like, or, I mean, maybe you can't even answer that versus not, I mean, because it changed things. I mean, you really were locked down together as a community.
I knew about Inner Year from the moment that Tim had started it because we go to the same church. And so I knew what it was supposed to look like, that it was supposed to be people floating in and out all the time. And so I don't know. We also don't know anything different because it's been this way the whole time. Mm-hmm. I do wish we could just kind of float in and out more with people. But it's also been good to grow in closer community to the people that are there. So.
Yeah, I think the opportunities of like reaching out to our community surrounding the house, there hasn't been as much of that just because of COVID and precautions of bringing people into the house sometimes. Mm-hmm. But it definitely has like brought our community together because, I mean, there was a brief period when 3 of us were quarantining because we had just gotten tested. And so we had our Friday and all of us were like, okay, well, if any of us come back positive, we're about to spend 2 weeks really close together. So it's kind of been nice just to have that as like factor that bonds us a little bit more.
Yeah. Our family really did. We made the decision to really isolate and not even come through. We used to walk through the house a lot and interact, and we just were like, okay, we're going to stay away from that, and then lo and behold, I got COVID. I think I was the first one actually in the Enter Your House who got COVID. And I was like, this is unreal. So it happens. But, so where do you guys sleep?
Ashlyn and I are roommates.
Okay, so you guys do room together?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
2 per room, except for the one guy. He has his own room. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So has that worked out okay, having roommates?
Yeah.
You used that from college, I guess.
I've enjoyed it. I'm not the most lively person in the morning, and so it has helped me a lot to have another person who wakes up for morning prayer with me and makes sure that I am up, and vice versa. So that's definitely helped me a little bit this year.
What time is morning prayer?
7:30 a.m. Because I have to be at school by 8, so I'm the one that makes you guys get up early. Sorry.
Are all of you morning people?
Once I get up, yes. The getting up part is hard. It's harder. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jeb and I won't do stuff like a podcast before 10 o'clock in the morning. So that just is off the record for us. Not a morning person. So I actually am usually up around 7, but I'm not up and really ready.
Yeah, I'm a morning person, but I'm I don't want to work in the morning. I'm happy to be awake and alive and checking out what the birds are doing and all that, but I don't want to be sitting here at the computer.
Jeb and I used to work in the same studio together, and we get to work about 10 or 11, talk for about an hour or two, and they were like, oh, it's lunchtime, right? So time to go do lunch.
It's a good schedule.
Yeah, it was really nice. So we're probably more productive away from each other.
Definitely. Food rules my life. I was just thinking about my memory of being at the Inner Year House when I came up there in December to visit, and I think somebody was cooking steak, and it just smelled so good, and I would have a hard time.
Yeah, that's one thing about the house. When people are cooking, you can smell everything, and it brings everybody down to the kitchen.
Yes, it drifts right up to apartment number 3, like the bacon smell, a breakfast smell, a coffee smell.
Goes straight into the bedrooms.
Yeah, that definitely is a real thing where you're like, wait, is my kids cooking bacon? Are they cooking breakfast this morning? And then you're disappointed when you walk out.
The Tudors are up there crying over their Little Caesars while y'all are eating steak. And
my family eats Belvitas. They're a huge fan of Belvitas. They're cardboard, if you ask me.
Blueberry cardboard.
What has been, pretty much. What has been like one of the highlights for you guys, living at Enter Year?
For me, I think the people you were talking about, roommates. Shout out to Cadence, who you'll be talking to in a little bit. But and getting to know and be in community with all of you, really, it's a gift to have people who have your back and you can go to with anything, and that's been a huge highlight of this year.
For me, on Thursday nights we do our family dinner, and so every Thursday we come together and we'll cook dinner or go out or bring something back in, and we just all eat together, and sometimes watch a movie afterwards or do some other things. But some of my favorite memories have just been us all cooking together in the kitchen with the music blaring and all just dancing together, catching up on how our week's been, how we're doing mentally and just emotionally. And so it's been really nice to know that, that everybody just has my back and we're all in this together.
Yeah. We do this thing where at the very beginning we saw a rainbow once and we were like, let's go see if we can get to the rainbow because it looks very close, and we just kept driving and driving, making turn after turn, and of course couldn't reach the rainbow, but that sparked the phrase, let's chase a rainbow every once in a while.
Kind of set the tone for the year.
Of just
that's cool.
We can be spontaneous, especially after Thursday night dinners when we're all together. So my favorite one was when we just went to Blackbird Cafe in Bristol, which is 45 minutes away. And it was super dark, but the skies were clear, and so we took the longer way that had less light. So we stopped in the middle of we stopped on the side of the highway, and still had the music going from the car, and just
Had a dance party.
Had a dance party on the side of the
Under
road,
the stars,
looking at
really,
the
yeah.
stars, and then we went and got our dessert and came back, and it was lovely. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So chasing
great.
rainbows.
Well, one of the questions that we ask all of our first-time guests, and I think it's really appropriate for you all as you kind of end this gap year, is what do you want to be when you grow up? Have you had any clarity to that, as you've gone through this program?
I think something that's become clear to me this year and with the pandemic and just, life is that things don't always turn out how you think they're going to. Plans don't always work out the way that you hope they will or think they will. And I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as much what you do, but more how you do it. And so I think what I want to be when I grow up is a person who's just done some stuff and has some good stories.
That's great. I love
Maybe
it.
chase some rainbows.
Maybe
Yeah.
chase
Yeah,
some
chase
rainbows.
some
Yeah,
rainbows.
every once in a while.
For me, I think one thing that I've learned this year is that what I want to be when I grow up doesn't have to be a career. And so I have gone through a lot of just like vocational discernment and like realized that, okay, like, yes, I can figure out my next steps, but that doesn't have to be my identity is like what I do. And so I think what I want to be when I grow up is just somebody who loves others well and like welcomes them into my life well.
Yeah, we've done a lot of just learning how to think instead of like learning what to do. And so I just want to be a person that thinks about things well. And so like both of my parents don't use their initial college degree. They've done other things. And so I'm happy to just do the next thing. We read a book called The Next Right Thing together. And so I'm happy I will be happy if I can look back and say I've always done the next thing that I could do and done it well.
Yeah, so the trend actually is that your generation will probably change completely career directions at least 3 times within your lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I've done it twice now. So, and I still think I'm young. I turned 42 in May. Tim's like really old, but I still think I'm young and I've got all this time. But then, the staff that work for me, around your all same age and stuff, and, finishing up graduate school and thinking about their future. And I think like, holy, I don't want to say a bad word, but like, you guys have so much time to do so many things. It's just really incredible. So I love that sentiment of like, just do the next right thing. That is really, really cool. And go chase some rainbows.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is
Yeah,
great.
and you're all hired. If I had money, I would hire you all because you're all like.
This was a great interview. I was thinking like, oh, Cora, you need to come work at Career Brand Story.
No, they need to come
We're the
work for Graph Creative. We got like 3 photography and media people sitting at a table
Nice.
who are
That's
more
right.
concerned about problem solving and doing the
People.
right thing than they are about pushing buttons and making hip videos or something, That's exactly the kind of work I like to do in my studio.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you'd like to find out a little bit more about Cora, Ashlyn, and Jordan, you can check them out at interyear.org forward slash fellows.
It's not a
Interyear.org
backslash.
/fellows. They all each have to raise money as well. I did look at that. I think all of you actually have all your money raised.
Nope.
You still got some
Still
out
got
there.
some,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a few that are still trickling in. So if you want to go support, and I think Cora was the overachiever of the group.
I was the overachiever, but I am local and I've been at the same church all 22 years of my life. So
I looked at hers.
It was
I
a
said
little bit
110%. I was
right.
like, oh my gosh.
So
The fellows-
I take
all the
back
rest
what I
of the fellows.
said, and Cora is hired.
Yeah, but you can go there and be able to support them, any one of the fellows, or just make a general donation. Tim would love that as well. Yeah, so thanks, guys.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, joining us now is Charlie Donnelly. Did I say
Donnelly,
that right?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have so many things in this podcast I'm not saying right. And Cadence Camp. Cadence Camp. That
Yes,
sounds
sir.
like a superstar name.
Well, it's about to change, so
Oh,
I'm engaged. So
well, that's exciting.
Oh,
That's
congratulations.
yeah, thank you,
great. What's the last name changing to?
Piercy.
Okay, that's
I think
cool.
maybe he
That's
should
cool.
change his
I mean,
name.
it is what it is now.
He should change with you. Like, go to
Yeah,
camp.
because
What's his
Caden's
first name?
camp is really cool.
Dalton.
Dalton Camp.
Yeah, he should change his name.
Yeah, I think he should go.
It could be
your
on the
way.
table.
We're
We could do a
deciding
hyphenated
here right
option.
now on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know you, Dalton,
so-
but camp would be a cool last name for you.
Yeah. I'm total in agreement with that. Maybe we'll have our audience vote on that for you, and that can help you decide.
You have no
Okay,
say.
awesome. Let's start the
Yeah,
poll.
I'll do that
Email
on
me the
Instagram
results, I guess.
stories, and we'll do a vote, and that'll clear that whole mess up for you. You don't
For
wanna
the
start
people
your
watching on
marriage
YouTube, let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
off. Yeah, it should either be Camp or I couldn't even remember his name. All right, see, that's
Piercy.
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 Dalton Piercy.
Piercy.
Oh,
All
I
right.
heard it wrong the first time. That is a cool last name.
I think so.
That's that's going to be a difficult
better.
I
decision.
mean, it is what it is now.
Well,
That's
now that
true.
we've brought Caden's complete personal life onto the to the podcast, let me introduce her. She grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and has lived here for the last 4 years in Johnson City, Tennessee. She attended ETSU, has a degree in clinical psychology with a minor in sociology. You have a real passion for mental health, and you love to travel.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So glad to have you here. And then Charlie grew up in Colorado. What part of Colorado?
Well, so I actually grew up in Atlanta. I was born in Colorado and Westminster,
Okay.
and then moved
No
to
way.
South Atlanta when I was like 3. Yeah.
My aunt
just
lives in
east of
Westminster.
Denver,
I
I
was
think.
just up there in
Oh, cool.
November 2019. I was going to say last year, but holy cow, it's just been a long year, as we alluded
My
to
dad
earlier.
still lives there, so I know the area kind of well.
Yeah. And then you attended Point University, which is my alma mater.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so you have a dual major in biblical studies and preaching. During college, you served as a resident assistant and also swim team. They did not have swim team when I was there.
Yeah. I think it's a new addition.
Yeah. There
was
was a
like
lot
the
of new
second year.
additions after Tim and I graduated.
Yeah.
Lots of new things
Like, all right,
happened.
cool. They're gone. We can start the cool
Yeah,
things.
that's right.
They didn't want you guys cannonballing the whole time.
Yeah.
They would not have wanted to see me swim. I do like to swim, but it would not have been a pretty sight. Loves music, playing the drums, a little bit of piano, currently learning the guitar.
Yep.
All right. And you also love the outdoors as well.
I do.
Actually, I ran into you hiking with my daughter.
Yes.
One time. We were up at Buffalo Mountain, and I walked out, and I was like, oh, hey, I know you, and you know me. So it was kind of fun to be able to happen. So first, what partners are you guys working at?
I work with LXI, which is a local ministry that really works with youth in Johnson City, particularly inner city or at-risk populations.
Okay.
And then I work at One Acre Cafe. Right now we're giving out just like free meals. Our target kind of patron is like the homeless population, but we're a nonprofit cafe. It's pay what you can. We have a suggested donation, but you don't. This pay isn't required. And so during non-COVID times, the mission is kind of if you can't pay, you can volunteer for like an hour, bus tables or do dishes. And so it's the idea to serve our community with dignity. And then anybody can come and sit down and they can get served. So it's not just like you're just being handed food and leaving. You're coming in, you're doing work for your food, and then you're being served with dignity, which is kind of cool.
And how did they do it with COVID?
So right now, we get there in the morning, we make the meal, and we package it in to-go boxes, and we keep them in a hot box. And then at 11, we just have a line outside, and we have somebody outside, and it's usually me or Ashley, one of our other workers, and we just hand out meals. And if people can pay, they pay. If they can't, since we're not accepting, just anybody to come and volunteer,
Sure.
they can just take a meal.
And where is One Acre Cafe located?
It is on Walnut Street, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Yes, I'm getting a nod.
Yeah. So what has been one of the successful highlights that you experienced working at LXI?
Honestly, I would say this is a little bit of a broad answer, but I think what's super successful and really rewarding for me working with LXI is seeing whenever a kid comes in initially, very closed off, very not super open to like having discussion, or combative, like very like pushing you back. And then see them slowly start being like, okay, like this can be a safe space for me. Like I can open up here. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be off in a corner away. So really seeing them like open up a little bit, and then being able to see who they truly are, which is who they were all the time. It's just whether or not they're willing to like let us in on that. So I would say that's probably the most rewarding. I've worked with LXI for like 2.5 years. So seeing kids come in 2.5 years ago and like where they are now, and how much more comfortable they are with who they are, being willing to share that with others, being willing to grow. That's the most rewarding. I guess like you can call that success stories.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What's been a successful highlight working at 1 Acre Cafe?
Yeah. So initially so my dad growing up was a chef, so I always cooked.
Okay.
So initially it was like getting a little bit more like hands-on, like culinary experience, learning how to chop correctly and prep foods and cook soups and stuff like that. And then after I had some experience in the kitchen, I got to like serve out front and serve our community. And so I got to know a lot of like our homeless population. And back in like October, I kind of joked with somebody because I moved here new to the city. I didn't really know hardly anybody. And I was kind of joking to a friend back home. I was like, I think genuinely I know more homeless people in Johnson City than I do people with homes, just because like I just got to interact with that work. And that was really cool. I walk around downtown, I just kind of see people I know and get to help out where I can. And so yeah, that's been a cool part for me.
Well, I think there was one day I was coming in with my kids, and I think you were actually one of
Philip. Yep.
I assumed he was probably homeless.
Yeah.
Or down on his luck and everything. But I saw you feeding a meal, and that generated a conversation with my kids. Like, who is that? What is that going on? And so yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys never know who's watching you, but there are young kids watching you guys. So it generates a lot of really positive conversation. So that's really cool.
That is cool.
So a question here, for those out even in the lobby area. So my question is Charlie a good cook? Did you guys make him cook for you?
Yes, Charlie is a very good cook.
All right. Good to know. Well, what has then been probably one of the more challenging things that is for you in the work that you've done, with LXI?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing is just always going to be seeing kids come in like really unfortunate situations, whether that is homelessness or whether that's toxic or unsafe family situations, or whether that's just a lot of our students really wrestling with being of minority race. We work with a lot of Black kids and that kind of thing. So like having them come in and be wrestling with that and being scared around police officers, just seeing things like that, just really up close and personal experiencing that there is a lot of social injustice in our world, and seeing young students being affected in very direct ways is very hard. Especially in situations where we can't do anything to help with that. And it's kind of like out of our hands. And so what we do is we just come alongside our students. So being in those situations where it's just really like we live in a really broken system, and just having that reality in front of you on a near daily basis is hard. That is very hard.
Yeah, I did youth ministry for a while, inner city. And I actually went to a therapist at one point because I just had so many kids coming with brokenness. I wasn't really prepared for that at 22. And the hardest thing that was for me was for him to say, and it was absolutely true. He was like, their life that their experience that you see as so hard and difficult, that's normal for them. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
yeah. And you got to remember, I mean, I would never like be like, oh my gosh, like that's just so hard for me every day, because I see that. And then I go home and I go back to like my nice, cozy life. And that's not the reality for a lot of my students. So that's the hardest part. But like, that's part of the job. It definitely takes a lot of emotional processing, working with counselors, that kind of thing, really building a staff team that's a family and being able to lean on them as well. But that's the hardest part. It's just harsh realities.
Yeah. So Charlie, what's been one of the more challenging things working with 1 Acre?
Yeah, so actually kind of similar is that, I mean, we see them every day, and you see people come up, and so some of our friends and customers start to get a little bit clean, and then you see them go right back. Or a lot of times, like if we don't see somebody for a couple of days, like where's Shorty? Because we know Shorty doesn't have a home, and we don't know where he's getting his food, and we haven't seen him in a couple of days. So like where is he getting fed? And we don't know. There's no way of knowing. Can't just like go in the woods and look for people. So yeah, like the not knowing, and yeah, like seeing our friends just going through a tough time, and then coming back to your cozy home, and like, dang, it kind of like makes you consider in perspective. Yeah. And then also like the kind of the quickness of like, here's your meal, quick conversation, but there's a line of people, like, I'm sorry, I have to like kind of keep the line moving. So not, I think once the dining room's open, that'll be a lot easier, but that's been a challenge also. And like, I want to sit down with this person and like talk to them and hear their life story and just like have a conversation. But it's difficult to have the extended conversations. Yeah.
So working at both of these partners, has it helped you discern your vocational calling?
Yeah, in a way. I learned, so I'd always had like a heart or like a passion for homelessness. But like, just to be completely honest, like it's uncomfortable. Like they stink, and there's usually like some other reasons for homelessness, and sometimes it's uncomfortable to talk to. But this is kind of like, they're just people. They're like us. And a lot of times it's just like, stuff happens, and it's not always out of their control, or they've just been abandoned. And so that was a huge help for me, because I'd already had a passion for that. I was just like, I didn't know how to talk to people. And so now I'm learning that they are just people, and just treat them like that. And so I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know that will be encapsulated in it somehow. And this has 1 Acre's helped that, I guess.
Okay. Well, with you at LXI.
Yeah, so like I said, I've worked with LXI, I've volunteered with LXI, and worked in intern capacities before for the past couple of years. And so it was something that I was really interested in, really kind of like opening my mind to, okay, this might be like a job thing. So that was a big deciding factor in me working or being a part of Inner Year this year. Just kind of saying, okay, well, I've done a lot of intern work, I've done a lot of volunteer work. So what would it look like to be like here in a more full-time capacity? So, and it's been awesome. It's like I'm working my dream job. It's absolutely the best thing in the world. So, praying for a job offer, kind of we're having meetings with the board and that kind of thing. So hopefully.
Oh, with LXI.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So if LXI is listening, this is a sign.
Hi, Kyle.
Please hire me, right? Yeah.
But no, there's been a lot of conversations about that even from the beginning. Yeah. This was that was my goal with LXI specifically. Yeah. That's what I want. It's like I said, it's my dream job.
Well, so I guess you answered my next question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, I wanna work full time with LXI, I guess, for now at least. In like a more like grand scheme of life, like really whether it be LXI or a ministry or organization completely across the country. Like what I want to do is I want to help people like really, really badly. That's what I want.
Yeah, and Charlie, so what do you want to be when you grow up?
Still kind of figuring that out. I went into college with the idea of I wanted to go into ministry. And I still think that'll happen at some point. But just throughout college and even now, I think I'm called to be a head pastor. That could change, but I think that's just, I don't want to do that right now. I think that just takes, I want a life experience and a little bit more maturity. I think one day down the road, that's where the Lord will call me, and I hope he does. But for now, I don't think I'm ready for that kind of responsibility. Sure. And I'm totally okay with that. So for now, just life experience, doing some just work and helping people where I can.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. If you go want to find out, go ahead, Jeb.
I was going to say that's kind of made a, it's a very mature way of thinking when you're also waiting for more maturity.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
so your future,
the frustration is there for sure.
Yeah. Your potential future congregation thanks you.
Cool. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Jeb and I worked in the same church together, and yes, that's a really actually wise approach.
Yeah. And I always heard just like be a youth pastor and use that as like a stepping stone. And I was like, the youth are, if not as important, more important for sure, actually, than like the adult congregation. And so I don't want to just like, this is my chance to mess up on you guys so I can get it right later. Like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you want to learn more about Cadence and Charlie, again, you can go to interyear.org/fellows. And also, again, each of the fellows do have to raise $3,000. I know Charlie still got some money that needs to come in. Did you too? I can't remember. Yeah. Okay, so these guys need it.
Still working on it.
So go there. You can give money to them. They would greatly appreciate that as they finish out this year. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for having the fellows come in. It's been a great conversation. And we asked all of them the same question. Wanted to come back and ask you, because we ask all of our first-time guests the same question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I think this is it. This is who I want to be when I grow up. And I love what I do. And I just hope to be a kind person who is generous and helpful, just maybe older and grayer than I am now. Yeah.
You're not too far off from that.
I know, right? The gray has really come into the beard, and
welcome to
it's
the
starting
club.
to get it in the hair as well. Yep. Yeah. Not quite like Jeb. I've got a little ways to go to catch up.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Just search for Jeremy Tudor. And on Instagram, I'm at Jeremy T. Tudor. Definitely follow me on TikTok at Jeremy Tudor. We're having a lot of fun over there. And while many of you listen to this podcast, because that is what a podcast is for, you can always watch each episode on the YouTube. You can just now go to careerbrandstory.com. It's there. You can get to whatever your favorite listening platform is, or watch us on YouTube. We'd really, again, absolutely love for you to subscribe to us on YouTube. So please go do that. Subscribe to us on YouTube. That's right. I'm looking at you
look at all the
out
fellows.
there. That's a lot of numbers out there. That would really help us out. Tim, where can people find more out about Interyear?
So they can find us on our website at interyear.org, or they can follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Interyear Fellow, even on Twitter. We do some stuff there too.
All right. And Jeb, where can people find you? You're doing a little bit more on TikTok.
I am. TikTok is becoming like my personal playground where I can go post opinions and cooking tips, which aren't really cooking tips because I'm not a great cook. But anyway, you can find me at
Charlie should start
JebGraff.
one.
Oh, yeah. He should. Then I'll point
Charlie
everything
should
to
start
him for actual cooking
There you
tips. You can find me at JebGraff pretty much everywhere, JebGraff. And one quick throwback to the very first question we had for Tim. He was talking about knowing your why, and I just wanted to remind everybody that we had an entire episode about knowing your why. That's episode 7. So when you go to YouTube, you can scroll back and find that episode 7. I'd also like to ask everybody, whatever listening platform you're listening on, if you're not on YouTube, to please subscribe there. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a good review if you enjoyed what you heard. And if you didn't, we don't need that review.
That's right. And again, I just want to say thank you to Market Street Media for hosting us today. Go to Leighton, it's marketstreetmedia.com.
Marketstreet.media.
Market Street
Media.
Oh my gosh. Market Street
Media.
That's fancy.
That's what it is.
That's it.
That's
go to marketstreet.media.
Yes.
Woo!
Own that URL.
Yeah, and you can also follow them on TikTok at market_street_media.
Underscore.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
an
gosh,
underscore.
I don't know. Just go look up Market Street Media. You'll find
them
right
everywhere.
there on TikTok. And
We'll link in the show notes. How about that? That'll make it easier.
That's helpful.
You can find all of that there. And if you are interested in doing a local podcast, these are the guys that you want to hook up with. They're great to work with.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And to all of our listeners out there, keep thriving.
If you're interested in advertising your business on our podcast, we advertise for local and national companies. Contact McKay at careerbrandstory.com for more information. That's MCCAY at careerbrandstory.com.